यस सर, बस स्टार्ट कर रहे हैं सर हम लोग. अच्छा, 1 मिनट में वी आर स्टार्टिंग सर. या 1 मिनट में वी आर स्टार्टिंग. हाँ, 1 मिनट में स्टार्ट कर रहे हैं सर हम लोग. ओके. Hello and welcome to News Center with me, Parikshit Luthra. The big story at this hour. An empowered committee headed by the Union Defence Secretary has submitted a report to Defence Minister R.K. Singh about what needs to be done to plug the gaps in preparedness of the Indian Air Force. The report has several thrust areas and focuses on what's needed in the short, medium and long term. The report also indicates that the private sector, along with defence PSUs and DRDO, must play a big role in defence modernization and manufacturing capabilities of the Indian defence industry. Now, the Indian Air Force Chief for the last few weeks has been sending calls, has been sending messages saying that India needs 114 multi-role fighter aircraft with at least 4.5 capability. He also said that we have a strength of 31 squadrons against a sanctioned strength of 42.5 squadrons. And many of the squadrons, many of the aircraft in the Indian Air Force fleet are going to be phased out over the next few years. And the Tejas light combat aircraft deliveries have also been delayed. So where are we right now? What needs to be done? We're joined by the Union Defence Secretary, Mr. R.K. Singh himself. Mr. Singh, thank you very much for joining us here on CNBC-TV18. Let me begin by asking you about the key thrust areas of your report and what are some of the gaps in the system that you wish to plug in the next 10 to 15 years?
Yeah, Parikshit, good to be with you. First of all, I mean, the report is secret, so I'm not going to, get into specifics of what the report says. But obviously, as we've released to the press, it focuses on thrust areas where we need to ensure that certain gaps are filled, and the Indian Air Force's modernization needs are adequately met. And for that purpose, there are specific suggestions that are made with regard to certain types of platforms, force multipliers, different types of strategic assets that are required. All of those are covered in that report, but I'm not going to talk about specific procurement categories or specific procurement proposals because that is not declassified.
All right. Broadly speaking, sir, what do you think are some of the immediate needs of the Indian Air Force that need to be met in the short term? What can we expect?
I think it's not a secret that their force, their squadron strengths has been depleting, and we need to do something about that. So one part is already out and clear, which is that the Tejas production line is hopefully will stabilize now that the engine issues have largely been sorted out. We have a fairly clear timeline from March onwards when we'll be getting at least an engine every month. So that production line will, as I said, stabilize, albeit with a 2-year delay. Other possible options to make up the numbers, as I said, are not, haven't reached a stage where we can start talking about it. But of course, we will look at other options also to ensure that any capability gaps are offset or neutralized in the shortest time frame possible.
Right. The Indian Air Force is scouting for 114 multi-role fighter aircraft with 4.5 generation capability. How soon can we expect the process to begin?
No, again, I will not talk about specific proposals of this type, Parikshit. There are, I mean, it's not a secret that that has been on the anvil for some time, but once we start moving, once it reaches a certain sort of level of approval within the system, you'll come to know. But as I said, we are looking at every option to optimize among the constrained choices that we have to ensure that the IAF strength is rapidly scaled up.
Right. When you speak about the light combat aircraft, the Tejas program that HAL is undertaking, what are the delivery timelines that we're looking at, sir? And how many aircraft do you expect to be inducted within the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, we have a expectation that we should be getting at least 12 aircraft during the current year, and thereafter maybe 20 or so every year. That is broadly the sort of deliveries that we expect. And if that is met, then there could be follow-on orders as well of more modern aircraft of the same type. So yeah, I mean, that production line we expect will stabilize, and HAL will hopefully perfect that aircraft and, improve its serviceability and its capabilities, integrate more of our Indian weapons onto it, and ensure that it becomes one of the mainstays of our fighter fleet.
Right. The Indian Air Force chief recently said that India must acquire 40 fighter jets every year to stay combat ready. He said that, yes, we will receive about 24 from HAL in the next couple of months, but we would need at least 40 to meet our requirements every year. Has the Empowered Committee made some recommendations on that front as well, so as to how to meet these critical gaps, this requirement of 40 every year?
Yeah, so as I said, while I won't talk about specifics, yes, we have made recommendations in respect of each of the capability gaps that we could identify. There are areas where we are better off. There are areas where we feel that there could be gaps. And for each of those gaps, we have provided for specific time-bound recommendations, short, medium, and long term.
Right. I would also like to ask you about a conversation of the IAF chief with the HAL chief that was doing the rounds. That video was leaked. Of course, the IAF chief later said that it was not right in the manner in which the issue was reported or leaked, but the whole thing raised questions about how the Indian Air Force does not have confidence in the capabilities or delivery timelines of HAL. How would you see that conversation, that exchange, sir, in the context of what needs to be done today?
Well, I mean, I would characterize it as a frank in-house exchange between the Air Force chief and some of his own colleagues who are now test pilots with the HAL. He was speaking his mind about what his expectations were. The conversation was eavesdropped, frankly, and it was not a authorized kind of a conversation that he had intended to be made public. In any case, those concerns, whatever we have, are intended to be addressed in-house, and I'm sure HAL has already made some progress in addressing some of those concerns. And of course, all of the delays that the delivery schedules have faced are not related only to HAL. They are also related to engine delivery that you are aware of. That 2-year delay is now being hopefully we are seeing the end of that hiatus, and now we'll have a relatively stable Tejas production line going forward.
Right. You've told us, sir, that the Empowered Committee has submitted its report to the Defence Minister. The press release issued on the 3rd of March also said that the Defence Minister has ensured that proper follow-up action must be taken. What happens now with the recommendations of the Empowered Committee? What are some of the next steps that we can expect?
So where there are specific proposals for in terms of procurements, whether Indian, from within the country, from outside, both, those cases will progress through the procurement procedures that we have, and that is the short-term one. Then there are some more long-term proposals which involve, development of specific types of weapons or strengthening some of our PSUs in terms of their ability to meet the needs of the IAF. So all of those will be medium and long-term as well.
Right. You've said in your report that the private sector now needs to play an active role as well. What kind of role do you envisage for the private sector along with the defence PSUs and the DRDO in stepping up the modernization or preparedness of the Indian Air Force, sir?
So I'm very clear, and I think the government is very clear that we need to step away from the process where we used to give orders on nomination basis without price discovery through what is normally called cost-plus procedures to certain PSUs alone. That process has inbuilt inefficiencies, and we need to move beyond it to competitive bidding. That applies not only to the Air Force, but to other procurements in the defense sector. That process will, to the extent possible, wherever private capacities are available, and there are good capacities in areas like land systems, artillery, certain types of munitions and small arms. All of these areas, we would expect that the processes should, even shipbuilding to some extent, we should try to follow competitive procedures to ensure proper price discovery and more economical use of public money. That is the broad sort of context and guidance that I would like to give to that I have given to my procurement team. That in general we need to move towards that kind of a procurement process increasingly. While doing so, also providing While doing so, also providing an accelerated procurement window also for startups who are increasingly playing an important role in this area.
Exactly. So, also on the acquisition of F-35s, during the Prime Minister's trip, Donald Trump, the US President, said that US would even be willing to offer F-35s, and the kind of defense modernization or defense collaboration that India and US are now going to embark on in the next 10 years may eventually lead to F-35 acquisitions. How do you see that statement? Is that being considered? Any talks with US on that direction?
Not as yet. I mean, there's no concrete proposal as yet, so there's nothing to really say about that. Let's see what happens. I mean, as and when there is a discussion, I'm sure everybody will come to know about it. As of now, there's no firm offer as such.
Right. Could you throw some light on the compact initiative that was agreed upon during the Prime Minister's visit? Also, the new India-US defense partnership for the next 10 years. What does that mean, sir?
So all of the 10-year framework is a statement of intent that we will now start working on building a 10-year framework, building on what the existing partnership. And on the compact, frankly, I'm not very well briefed on that part, so I wouldn't be able to tell you off the hat as to what that is. On the 10-year framework, the intent is to work together with our American partners to build a document which obviously will focus on a fairly comprehensive partnership. From our side, we've been looking at liberalization of the ITAR regime, of a reciprocal defense procurement process. All of those have been mentioned in the joint statement, and hopefully all of that will get realized during the course of this
Right. the price negotiations for the GE 414 engines with the US, how soon do you expect them to be concluded?
That's between HAL and GE. I have no, I'm not directly involved in that process. But yeah, during Aero India, we did have discussions with both of these parties. And we are expecting that this process will take a bit more time. Exact timelines really would be for HAL to speak of, but I think they are fairly closely engaged, and we hope it will come to a fruition or finalization fairly quickly.
Okay. And finally, sir, if I could just request you to sum up, what kind of targets are you expecting or aiming at in terms of defense exports, defense manufacturing and overall production in the coming fiscal year?
Yeah, so our intent is primarily to ensure that we provide visibility to the entire manufacturing ecosystem in this country, comprising of some 16,000 MSMEs and 16 PSUs and dozens of over 400 defense companies or licensees, to give them visibility by ensuring that contracts get awarded not in a piecemeal manner but in a significant manner, but at scale, so that people have their order books available. The large vendors have full order books. The MSMEs have consequential orders. And as a result, we start ensuring that deliveries start taking time. The faster we are in terms of contract finalizations, the more chances there are that we will start replenishing any gaps that we have in any areas, not only as far as the Indian Air Force alone is concerned. So yes, finalize contracts quickly, provide visibility to the entire manufacturing ecosystem, ensure maximum doubling down on the indigenization effort, and through that process also ensure that our exports reach about 50,000 crores by 2030, which is our internal target as far as exports are concerned. So yeah, these are the kind of areas which we would really like to see at a broad level as far as the defense manufacturing ecosystem in this country is concerned.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Singh, for joining us, giving us your vision on what can be done to boost the preparedness of the Indian Air Force and also the overall greater participation of the private sector in the defense manufacturing and the bidding process as well. On that note, we take a short break, but don't go anywhere. Airtel has signed an agreement with SpaceX to bring Starlink high-speed internet to India. We will be getting your report on that right after this break.